Today, well, this video, I wanted to discuss a little bit about something that was on my mind, well, in my spirit, first thing this morning when I woke up. The whole concept that Paul talked about with our bodies being the temple of the Holy Spirit, and how revolutionary that is, and how that was actually something that Jesus himself had alluded to in the Gospels. So let's go back, Old Testament, right? So in the Old Testament, you had the Jews, they really revered the temple, because the temple was where the priests resided. The temple was where you made your sacrifices. And then inside the temple, you have the Holy of Holies, to where you have the ark and all that stuff. And that's where God dwelled. And no one could go in there aside from the high priest. And if I remember correctly, the high priest had a rope and some bells tied around him to enter inside into the Holy of Holies. And they only will go inside the Holy of Holies for like once a year or something like that. So anyway, and when the high priest go in there inside the Holy of Holies, and then God's Spirit hits him, boom, the priest falls out, and then they'll hear the bells. And sometimes the priest died, but so they would just drag him out, because, you know, like I said, no one other than the high priest could go inside the Holy of Holies. And if they did, you know, we know what would happen. They would be struck dead, because no one could go into God's presence and live. No one can see God and live. So if you're unclean, you will have to die. Just like when in Exodus, God told Moses and the Israelites, he said, you know, anyone who touches this mountain, you have to stone them, because they're defiling what's holy. So back then, you know, before Christ died, we were unclean. We were, no matter how we adhered to the law, the Mosaic law, we weren't really made righteous. And that's why Christ had to come. Anyway, so Jesus is talking in the New Testament. He's saying things like new wine skins. You can't pour new wine into old wine skins. Things have to be cleaned out. And he really focused a lot inwardly. And that's something that I talk about a lot too, is like we have to focus on the inside, make sure the inside is pure, because we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So follow me here as I paint this picture. So you have, so one of the things that the Jews did was they really revered the temple, and then is when Jesus was like, you know, one day this is going to be destroyed, and there will be not one stone turned on top of one another. And they thought that was blasphemous, because they really cherished the temple more than what resided inside the temple, which was the Holy of Holies. So they thought the temple was what made things pure and holy, but it was the Holy Spirit inside of the temple that made it holy, right? And that's why when Jesus talked about, he said, you destroy this temple, in 3 days it will rise again. They thought he was talking about the literal temple, the building. And they were pissed. They're like, oh no, it took our forefathers this amount of years to build this temple, and you think you can do it in 3 days, and blah blah blah. But he was talking about his body that we now know, right? So then this brings us to what Paul was talking about. So when we are born again, when the Holy Spirit comes and, you know, dwells within us, we in essence are now a mirror. We are now a representation of the temple. And the Holy Spirit resides within us, where he is now, what's inside of us is now the Holy of Holies. So that's why our hearts have to be pure, you know, and we got to love the Lord with our heart, soul, mind, strength, all that stuff. So, and that's why it's so important, as we're going on through our lives, that we walk with the Spirit, in step with the Spirit. As temples, the Holy Spirit dwells within us. Our hearts are basically like the Holy of Holies, where only he is to reside there. No one else, no other thing must take residence there. For example, you know, when Jesus talked about when an unclean spirit is driven from a person, it goes looking for a host, and then it comes back, right? It's the same concept. So the demons, the spirits have to be exorcised from us. They have to go. So now the Spirit of God can come and dwell, because no other spirit can take residence there when he is there, right? So that's very important. It is he that makes us pure. It is he that makes us righteous. No amount of goodwill, no amount of acts that we do, good works that we do, can make us righteous outside of him. It has to be rooted in the Spirit of God. It is He that continually renews us, not all the good things that we do. Because a lot of people do a lot of good things, but it's not rooted in the Spirit of God. No matter how righteous, no matter how holy or pure it seems to be, no matter how well biblically versed and wrapped in biblical lingo something sounds, if it is not from the Spirit of God, you gotta just throw it away. Just throw the whole thing away. So what are we supposed to do now that we are aware of the concept, the idea that we are the Spirit, that we are the temple? Well, one of the things that we can do is we can make sure that we take care of our bodies, where it's, physically, being physically fit, eating healthy, things of that nature. But most importantly, those things are good. But the most important thing that we are to do with our bodies is to make sure inwardly we're clean, where there is no hint of greed, no hint of lust, no hint of idolatry or anything. It's like we just have to make sure that inside of us we are pure and we live that out. And one of the things that I do want to point out is just like when you think of it as in the sports term, to where when you're in a gym and you're trying to get better, okay? You're trying to get better on a skill. You keep working on that skill. You keep working on that skill until you get good at it. You just don't stop because you're not like, well, I suck, so I'm not going to do it. Like, no, if you have the desire, you have the passion, you're going to keep trying. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to master this skill, and I'm going to move on to something else. Right? That's how all the great players do it. Right? They just, some of them have natural talent, but even with that natural talent, they still have to mold that. They still have to shape it. So you got to continue to keep trying. Just like whenever you're working out, you got to have resistance. You got to have something to help build up those muscles. Because then once you start maxing out, then you can go on to something else. You can lift more weight. All right, or you can run a greater distance. But you just don't stop at the first sign of trouble and say, I give up, I quit. No, because temptation must come. But temptation is there in order for us to progress to the next level. Testing has to come for us to go to the next level, for us to be stronger and learn how to resist and walk in the power in the way that God originally intended for us to be. Not fearful of everything. Not being cowards. God made each and every one of us powerful. He made each and every one of us with a purpose. Each and every one of us has abilities. But here's the thing, we all have to work together to make this thing work. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. I hope you guys are great. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, or whenever you watch this. I hope everything's going well for you and Kim Jong-un didn't blow us up yet. Alright, so anyway, love you guys. God bless. And if he blows us up, I'll see y'all in the upper room. Later.